streaming. Fuck it. Let me see what my phone does. It says it's receiving. Sketching comedy. Primetime animation is live. All right. Live. Right meow.
Right meow.
Yeah.
Right meow.
Right.
Meow,
All
meow.
right, I'm putting it
Meow.
right meow. With
I'll get
Phil.
Give me your license and registration right meow.
Right meow. I haven't seen there's a teaser for the sequel. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's coming out. It's coming
Are
out
they
on
finally making the sequel?
It's coming out on 4/20, I think.
Of
next
course
year.
it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why this comes up. It says Trickster Geeks. I don't even understand. Sketching comedy. Tweet. Close. Okay. Well, apparently I can't spell Guinness Book of World Records, and primetime is 2 words.
It's like the beer.
Jesus. Welcome to my personal hell. Okay. So I don't think I have to do anything now because Restreamio does it. So I'm good. So I can get out of there. And I can make this over here. And then I just have to get to these. Sign in. Don't give me any poop doop. And I think we should be good. Yes? Yes. Okay. I did it. I did it, guys. Yay. All right. Oh, it's 7 o'clock.
Gary
Look at
Sams, you're my hero.
that. I don't know what it looks like on Facebook right now, so let me just check it really quick, but it probably looks like poop because that's how I do stuff. So, right? Meow. Oh, it came up right. So, you guys are tagged. I'm sharing it to Sketching. I'm doing things. It's like I'm living the dream. Sketching comedy. Boom. Share to a page, and I'll share it to Blazing Caribou for now. Dun dun dun! Just saying. Okay. Closing this, closing that. Okay, guys. All right, so tonight we're gonna probably just talk about. I have like a real good rough outline about some things, but a little bit of history, which is good. And just kind of like it's kind of like the history of the primetime animation. But I figure we could get into what you do and do not like about like some of the shows at night and things like that. Like kind of their involvement over the years, obviously since the beginning of time. So you guys let me know when you're ready. Cool. I have wine. I have the biggest glass of wine ever.
Wait, that's not water? Wow.
No. Oh, wait, I got a new toy, too. This is my new one. Since we're doing cartoons. You know who that is?
Ah, it's the Ice King.
It is the Ice King. I like it because it came
from Game of Thrones.
It looks like Game of Thrones. But look at these little penguins. I love the little penguins on him. And he's like holding him like a baby. This is great. So
I talk about him in class all the time.
Do you? I love him. He's great. So gotta love Loot Crate. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, are you guys recording yet?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I am.
I am now.
And I am now too. Okay, let's do some. Imran, can you turn yourself up just a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Check 1, 2. Any better? Better.
A little bit more?
Hello. Hello.
That's good. That's great. Okay, and how about you, Phil?
Check. Toast.
Toast.
Check some toast. I did something weird this week. I cut my eyebrows a little bit too short, and I looked like a crazy person for like 2 days until they grew back. I don't know what I was doing.
I got news for you. You still look like a crazy person. It has nothing to do with your eyebrows. It's the jacket with the long sleeves that you constantly wear wrapped around you.
Doesn't everybody have one of those in their closet? No?
I got 2 or 3.
Not so much the eyebrows as just the look in your eyes.
It's really, it's very unsettling.
It's that far off stare. Just kind of like, I could
looks
murder
like she's
you.
looking through me.
It's that plate of fava beans and the giant glass of Chianti.
It's all good. All right. Lights are on. Action going. Let's get this show on the road, guys. Here we go. Oh, this is all messed up. Hold on.
Oh, no, what happened?
Of course it is.
Okay, now it's not. Now it's not. It was just really funny.
Oh,
Like
we're good. We're good. We're fine.
The soundboard mixed up all the numbers, so I was like, interesting. I don't know what that is. Okay. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. Oh wait, we gotta do sketching comedy, or say comedy. Ready? On the count of 3, say comedy. 1, 2, 3, comedy.
Comedy.
One more time. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, comedy.
Comedy.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay, but that's okay. It's not a problem. I just have to have this little thing up really quick. Super quick. And not this screen, so that way I can animate between the two. And okay, at this point I can't see your screen, so I don't know what you guys are doing. So there's that. So here we go.
I'm not even here.
I know. I'm not even supposed to be here today. All right, here we go.
I'm filing a picture of Carrie right now. You can't see it though.
With no eyebrows, it's the best.
Yes.
I just photoshopped the eyebrows out.
Right.
Carrie.
It's just like Whoopi Goldberg look. It's in right now. It really is. All right. And 3, 2. On today's show, we discuss primetime animation. You may recognize some of these adult-targeted cartoons, but did you know that one holds a Guinness Book of World Record title? Our own sketch comedians, Imran and Phil, are back live on the drawing boards, and I'm here too, so stick around, because the show starts now. Hello, and welcome back to Sketching Comedy, the show that teaches, laughs, and draws comedy and comics while you listen and watch from the comfort of your home. I'm your host, Carrie Sims, along with two of the funniest and most talented guys I know, Phil and Imran. Hi, guys. Have you missed me?
Carrie's back. We missed you. I don't have to do the show, but just me and Phil. Thank you so much for coming back. I can just draw.
Sketching Comedy Assemble! We're all back together. I can't believe it.
Oh, I know, right? Oh, it's kind of nuts. And just for the viewer to hear at home, if you haven't heard, I am getting married, and the time is 30 days from now. So it's getting a little bit crazy. So my buddies here at the network have been really helping out and picking up the slack where I need to, so that I can get through these last 30 days and just get this over with. My God.
And for those of you interested at home, Carrie and James are registered at ABC Fine Wines and Spirits, ABC Liquor. Go on down and check out their wedding register.
Oh my God. Well, and I was thinking about it today, and you guys, I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard the story of James and I about like how we met, but I thought it would be really interesting to hear how you guys met your spouses. So, Phil, I'm going to hit you up first. How did you meet your lovely wife, Christine? What was that all about?
Russian mail order bride catalog.
Right.
It really hit us off. It was great. I found her on page 12 right off the bat. I actually met Christine through friends of ours, mutual friends, and I was stationed in North Carolina, and my buddy was coming down to meet up with his old girlfriend and needed a ride, and said, well, she'll bring a friend, and that happened to be my wife. And we met up in Orlando. Our first date was Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. And and we've been oh man, that's been 90. We just went over this with the kids. 96.
Wow.
That was. So 21 years since I met my wife.
Oh, what a
And
milestone.
it was anyone who tells you blind dates never work out. We are a blind date that took a long time and a lot of twists and turns, but we finally did get there and have been going strong.
And it's actually because you are blind, like you have a disability. It has nothing to do with anything.
She is blind.
Yes, she's blind.
She
There
has
is no
idea
way.
I'm
Clearly.
horribly disfigured.
Yeah.
Clearly, her vision is impaired.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Imran, how did you meet your wife? Because I know you just had you had an anniversary and you were trying to explain that you have two of them.
Well, we have 2 anniversaries. Just like Phil, we met on farmersonly.com, which is weird because neither of us are farmers. No, it was a group of friends in the neighborhood that had a band, and I hung out with these guys, and I played guitar, and everybody knew this band, and there was one, you know how there's always the one guy that knows everyone, is kind of the focal point of your friends, and you meet other friends through them. So she knew this one guy, I knew this one guy. We ended up going to see the band at the same time, and then we just had a lot of things in common, like weird, sad things. Like both our fathers passed away like the same year, same age. And I have a younger sister. She had an older brother. So there was kind of that parallel pairing. But we have 2 anniversaries. One is where we went to the courthouse. Just we're like, you know what? We're going to the courthouse. And then a month later, we had a little ceremony. So if we miss one, we know there's another one coming. It actually works out great because we both missed the first one this year.
How many times has that saved your ass that you forgot the first one and
all the time.
every year?
There's no excuse to miss the second one though. It's
going to be me that forgets because I'm horrible with dates. For me, I envy you at this point doing the whole courthouse thing because I don't know what I was thinking at this point. There is just way too much involvement, and it's like having another child at 40 years old.
It sucks. It's
I'm like,
horrible.
what are you doing? This is horrible.
Neither of us wanted to go through that, and we're like, you know what? We're just gonna skip all this. I don't care, and it was great.
When Christine and I got married, I remember she was hitting all these little decisions, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and I'm like, hey, this is my day too. And she goes, okay. What kind of napkins do you want at the reception? And I just go, you know what? I don't care. Why don't you take care?
I'm out. That was too much.
No, I think you were right. You were right the first time. You go ahead and
definitely.
Yeah, all right. Well, I have to admit, James has been absolutely wonderful, and I'm not just saying that because he's about to be my husband, but he has put in just as much effort as I have on all of this, which is absolutely fantastic. And I'm not swimming here doing it alone, but we're both nuts about it, and we're both ready to go on our honeymoon, and we are joking about the fact that we're going to Raccoon Mountain in Chattanooga for the first 4 days, and then we're spending the rest of it in Nashville in some fancy hotel. But I am calling it the hashtag Raccoon Honeymoon, so if anybody sees any pictures and they find that hashtag, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, you will find our wedding photos that day. So
listen, he is so lucky because you're not the typical like bridezilla, bride from hell kind of person. So you know, the way you are approaching this is so refreshing.
Yeah.
And he should be grateful that
and my mom, like my
Yeah.
family is very small. My mom's passed away. My father's a little bit estranged, so he doesn't have to deal with any of that. So there's no big, arguments within the family. But yeah, for me, it's more like, oh, we have to change our colors from like green to blue. cool. Can we just get it done in time? Like, I just want to get this done now. I'm not like, oh, well, I wasn't sure if we could have these kind of flowers. And I'm like, I don't care. Are they cheap? Let's do it. I'm good. I'm not that kind of person, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be lovely. I think that what's really cool is having two artists put together a wedding, and it's really going to reflect. And what's cool is we really could cut corners and cut dimes and all, save a lot more money doing it our way. So we're really excited. So having said all that, you've heard enough of my babbling on, but if you do miss me a couple of times in the next couple of weeks, you guys will know why. I'll have to step back for a little bit to handle things like getting my hair did and getting my nails painted and doing all the girl things I get to do. So if you guys are curious and prefer watching the live show and seeing the art created right before your very eyes, be sure to tune into us every Wednesday on YouTube. So let's get into a little bit of what we're talking about tonight. So at the top of the hour, we mentioned a primetime animation. The Flintstones were first. I think everybody kind of knew that. It was the longest running animated situation comedy shown in primetime television, premiering on ABC on the 30th of September, 1960, which is going to be my anniversary. See how this all comes around?
Yeah. Is that why? That's your anniversary? Is
no.
That shows that
yes, I
picked
picked
Flintstone fans.
Flintstones.
Well, it's kind of funny because he's a stone carver. Flintstones.
Oh my god!
Right?
Holy cow! That's right. That's hilarious.
I know. I don't even know. So let's call it the Flintstone wedding. All right, whatever. But it was produced by Hanna-Barbera, which is Bill, Hanna, and Joe Barbera, and we did a show on them. The Flintstones were patterned after Jackie Gleason on The Honeymooners and originally designed as a program for the entire family. So let's get into a little bit of the news, and then we'll get back into what primetime animation is all about. Well, there is a new animation or actually a live action film reboot of The Jetsons. I don't know if you guys have heard about this.
I saw that, yes.
So in case you were a little bit too young to know who the Jetsons are, it was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon series from the early 60s, which took place in the future, where everybody thought we would be living in buildings high above the sky and would be driving flying cars. Also, everyone considered 2001 was going to be that particular day. But the Jetsons are also a family with Father George, Mother Jane, daughter Judy, and son Elroy. Don't forget, what was the dog's name?
Astro.
And the maid, Rosie.
Rosie.
Right?
And then there was Orbity. Don't forget Orbity.
Oh, that's right.
He was like the cousin Oliver of the Jetsons.
Well,
had an Orbity.
Poor Oliver. That is a Brady Bunch reference. Poor Oliver.
That's a great reference.
That's a great reference. Warner Brothers has decided to bring back the Jetsons for the new generation that Hanna-Barbera thought would be living in this future in the form of an animated feature film. So if this kind of sounds a little bit odd and familiar to you, a lot of these have been happening as of late. We've seen things like The Jungle Book and Pete's Dragon and these live action type of films. Curious, guys, what do you think? You think this is one that's going to translate well to the live screen, Imran?
This is a live action. I don't know. Think of the Flintstones movies. How successful was that?
I try not to.
Wow.
Right, exactly. It's a great as a cartoon, and it brings back great memories. I don't know if this is a good idea. I just they want to. It's like a cash grab. Bring back everything.
Right.
It's another think of something new. I don't know. I don't see this. It's gonna be weird because it's very 60s, just like the Flintstones.
Right. It's super of its time. It's one of my arguments about Marvel trying to remake Fantastic Four movies all the time is that the Fantastic Four belongs in the 60s.
Yes.
It's very much of its time. It's very quaint. The Jetsons worked because it was a very specific idea of what the future would be from a 60s point of view.
Sure.
And it's just outside of that, it's not I don't know. I don't see it having a whole lot of legs.
No, and that's exactly why they haven't been able to make a Fantastic Four movie properly, because it is of its time. It would be awesome if they did like a wacky 60s sci-fi.
If they did, yes. If they did it in the Mad Men universe.
Yeah, it would totally work.
Yeah.
My problem is like Scooby-Doo. Like, it just didn't work for me. I mean, the fact is the dog is so animated, and it's basically, I mean, Astro is basically a Scooby-Doo. And I think that they go full-blown CGI on it, and I think I have a problem with that. Like, I would prefer it to be like a regular dog. And, but who knows how they're going to do this. They even have, Seth Rogen is doing Sausage Party also due out in, I think it was like, the sequel is supposed to be some like live action type of a thing too. So everybody's kind of getting their hands, in this pie, trying to figure out if this will work. But I don't know.
They're great kids movies, and they are great ways for young kids to get introduced to these characters that maybe they wouldn't with these updated. But they're just, it's going to go to video. It's going to sell a bunch to kids. It's a family movie.
Do you think they're just basically hitting us? Because, like, this was our childhood, so we go, yay! Oh, this is something that we grew up with. Bring our kids or our grandkids or whatever the heck it is at this point. Some people do have grandkids at this age. Me not. But yeah, it's like, oh, my kid will appreciate this. And they don't. They don't understand it. It's completely...
Yeah, I can't see my kids being into a Jetsons movie. They're like,
I cannot see Logan going...
The Jetsons, the Jetsons, or the Jensens, our neighbors.
It's the Jetsons, it's your Swiss Family Robinson. So, instead of redoing the Jetsons, give us another Swiss Family Robinson updated. The story gets told over and over again. And wasn't it in the Jetsons? Didn't they live up high in the sky because we had just screwed up the planet? It was polluted, and the solution was, we'll just build up there.
I don't know if they ever specifically said that was the reason, or
I think that's why I thought
internet takeover of the dark origins.
I always thought it was very dark. I was like, what happened to the ground? I always wanted them to go to the ground level. I was like, what does that look like? Why are you up here?
Yeah. That's a good point. Maybe they'll actually address it, but who knows? Maybe it's some like apocalyptic.
There it is.
There it is. You've missed me. Apocalyptic.
I missed you, Carrie.
I don't even know. It doesn't even matter. We're moving on. It's all good. We're going to get into a little bit of what primetime animation is all about. All right, so we've got from Bedrock all the way to Springfield and beyond. So anyone who has ever animated will tell you cartoons are not merely kids stuff, which I 1,000% agree. I actually watch more cartoons now as an adult than I did as a child. And I mean, I don't know what that is. I've obviously devolved at this point. But I do. I watch a heck of a lot of cartoons.
Has gotten mature, though, too, because of the Flintstones.
Absolutely. Well, we kind of take it for granted, the animated features that play in the movie theaters. But Disney was the first that tried to do the Seven Dwarfs, and they were a big laughingstock. It took about 3 years in order to do this. And they were just laughing, like, this is ridiculous. What are you putting all this time and effort into this, like, animated film? And
who's laughing now?
Right?
Dummies.
Right. It's like, but after it came out, everybody is enjoying the benefits from that. So because of something, so simple, came new things. And we have, going way back before the Flintstones, we have something called Crusader Rabbit. Have you ever heard of this, you guys?
No. I have. Yeah.
You have. Good. Well, it was
like really simple, right?
It was very, very simple, and unfortunately doesn't really hold up today because, the animation wasn't that great done back then. But one of the true pioneers of limited animation television programming was producer Jay Ward, and he was an animator Alex Anderson. They both pioneered methods called limited animation. And to briefly explain what that means, is traditional animation, such as like Disney classics and shorts, would be animated in 24 frames a second. In some instances, this would mean that a second of a footage was comprised of 24 unique images. If you can imagine the time and effort to get one of these, like, 30-minute things done. It's insane, right? So with limited animation, there are about half as many drawings, and there are several other technical shortcuts employed. For example, letting the dialogue drives the narrative. And one of the first limited animation programs was called The Crusader Rabbit, and it aired on various NBC affiliates from 1948 to 1951. And this was really important because what it did is it established the foundation for TV animation. And then you walk into things like, and this is Crusader Rabbit, if you can see it up on the screen, it's just old black and white, just simple line drawing type of a thing. And then we kind of move right into Rocky and Bullwinkle. Now everybody kind of knows what that is. Now Rocky and Bullwinkle, what's nice about this, it aired from 59 to 61 and also 61 to 64 on NBC. This show kind of held up. The animation was better. Things were kind of moving a little bit more. There were these things called fractured fairy tales.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So they were segments which kind of parodied the Grimm fairy tales, or Mr. Peabody segments, which featured the precocious pooch who traveled through time and rewrote history. The dialogue was really well written, and unlike The Crusader Rabbit, the program has aged really well. Although
that was before Flintstones?
Yeah, this is before Flintstones. So,
Rocky and Bullwinkle, yeah.
But the issue was it was still primarily just targeted at a young audience, and so the jokes fell on young ears and things like that until we had the age of the Flintstones. And the Flintstones, when they came around, what was really interesting, I mean, we break this down a little bit, and I'm not even going to read some of this stuff because, I mean, this is the Flintstones. Who doesn't know about the Flintstones? But what I found most interesting, and just kind of like thinking about this, that this was a blended family for the first time. They didn't say things like Betty couldn't have children. They just adopted Bam Bam.
Oh, yeah. Bam Bam was
like,
adopted.
you don't think about that, but that's just one of those things. Like, they just kind of blended this family. And you can see up there, was it Gazoo or Kazoo, or what was it dude's name?
Oh, the Great Kazoo.
The Great Kazoo. Yeah, but
that was where they jumped the shark.
But
towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, the big thing with this is even though kids liked it, teenagers liked it, adults, they didn't steer away from like heavier hitting type of subjects, and they could do that in a comedic sort of a way where it was almost brilliant, because now you can sit down as a family with your kid and watch a show that you can get jokes, and it kind of goes over them a little bit, but they're laughing because they see, Bam Bam hitting Fred over the head with his caveman type of a club. So I really find this really interesting, that this is really the birthplace of that, because like there's a show now that and a lot of these shows, it's not prime time, but like Fairly Odd Parents was one of the ones that I watched with my daughter when she was younger, and those jokes are rough, man. Like, they have some serious, and SpongeBob is also a really good one, that they have these jokes that they're telling that there's no way in heck that these kids are going to know what they're talking about. But as a parent, you can now kind of suffer through watching cartoons with your kid without being completely bored out of your mind. So, it was definitely interesting. And then let's get into Phil's favorite, which was The Simpsons. Right? So having the Flintstones definitely paved the way to have something like The Simpsons. And we had never seen anything like this before. It was crass. It started on, Phil, where did it start? Do you remember?
Tracy Ullman Show.
Right. Now, did you watch the Tracy Ullman Show?
I was aware of the Tracy Ullman Show, but I didn't really watch it. It was, at the time that was on, it was a little too British for me. Mm-hmm. And just a little too. It didn't quite click with me. So
here's a quick impersonation of Tracy Ullman. Hello, I'm Tracy Ullman. This is every voice I do. This is me doing a voice of Tracy Ullman, doing a voice of Tracy Ullman. But I did watch that show. I did.
I love that show. I remember vividly watching it and being introduced to because the supporting cast is everyone that's in The Simpsons, and they were amazing.
Right.
On that show.
Right. Well, and didn't it start with the rabbits too. Didn't Matt Groening start with
Life in Hell?
Life in Hell is the comic strip that
I love
he did
that.
before
That's a great
pitched
strip.
The Simpsons. It is a great strip,
And it is The Simpsons. If you look at Life in Hell, it is basically, you can see like Bart Simpson. You can see.
Well, it's Groening's drawing style is that
Yeah.
bug-eyed overbite, and that's kind of what he applied to whatever he drew.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of parallel there, and the humor is very much. I think he was more heavily involved in the early Simpsons seasons, so it rings a little more of that Life in Hell vibe that he was writing right before he did that.
So this was kind of like, this is right along the era, like on live TV or regular TV, we have like Married with Children, and then also The Simpsons come in. It's like the first animated thing. Now The Simpsons is still going, which is insane. Almost
28 years, 29 years, like
it's like 26 seasons, 27 seasons, or something ridiculous like that. And the thing is, you know, what's interesting, and I'm feel free to argue with me about this, which is great. What's interesting about The Simpsons is it's still so well written, even today, where I feel that like things like Family Guy and a couple of the other shows out there that I won't name too heavily, but you know, they rely kind of like on just, you know, sight gags and same tired jokes over and over again. And they just, what they do is they create this formula, I feel, in adult, you know, they're like, okay, hey, this works. Let's just keep reproducing that and just throwing out this garbage now, you know? And to me, it's funny at first. Like, I really liked watching Family Guy in the beginning. And then I didn't, because it was like, it was like the same crap thrown at me every single time. And I knew what was going to happen, and I knew the joke was coming, and it got boring. But The Simpsons doesn't do that. And if I'm wrong, tell me. But The Simpsons is just, it's a great show. And what's neat about it is it's been around so long that it has actually had more stars on it than it has had episodes. Is that insane?
That's probably true. I would say The Simpsons is still very clever. I don't think it's what it was, but The Simpsons has gone through an evolution in its writing where now they kind of are meta about everything. Mm-hmm. They're sort of pointing out like, Homer's ridiculously stupid and things like that. And I think part of that is because people who are writing for The Simpsons now are the people who grew up watching it. They're the people our age who it's kind of come full circle into another iteration of itself. It's a very interesting show just for how long it's been on the air.
Right.
And still holds a... I don't really watch a lot of the new episodes anymore. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of turned over its audience, and it still retains a good audience. Like,
but it starts new audiences. That's what's really interesting.
What I'm saying. Like they instead of retaining the original fans, like they've sort of turned it over, and now it's a whole new crowd watching it, and it's a whole new show almost. It's very interesting to look at the history of it all.
Now, the growth of the art style since The Simpsons originally started, obviously, it was very crass and you know,
it's crude.
But it's really grown into something. You know, I think it shows the growth of the show. It shows the maturity of the show. But I still enjoy kind of watching the old ones too, you know, especially on the Tracy Ullman Show. If you've never seen it, Google it, YouTube it, whatever. See some of the old ones, and you can see just kind of how funny that is. But these are the same people still voicing these characters this many years later. And I'm like, what a gig. Can you imagine getting a phone call like, hey, we need you to voice a cartoon? Like, cool, that'll be a paycheck until, you know, Christmas. And then it's like, you know, 20 odd years later, like, well, this put all of my children through college. That's awesome. So, so this show paved the way for shows that are a little bit more crass. Let's talk about South Park. So in walks South Park, and this was an insane show that first came out. The first episode I saw was when Kenny was trying to give his mom an abortion. I had never seen any show like it in my life. Yeah. And I was actually, and at the time when it came out, I was actually offended. which is really funny because I don't really get offended, but I was offended and wasn't sure if I wanted to continue watching. And it was like a train wreck where I was like, they can't go there again, can they? Yes, they can. And they just kept hammering and hammering and hammering. And I love this show. I don't know. Like, Imran, what do you think about South Park? Particularly as a prime time.
I love South Park. I remember, wasn't there like a videotape that was floating around early on before it started?
Yep.
And it was like it was like a big secret thing, and people were like, have you seen this tape of the show? But the fact that they could put a show together in 8 days gave them an edge that no other cartoon is able to do. Is something happens the beginning of the week, boom, it is talked about on the show by the end of the week. Unbelievable. And the way they've used that power is genius. I mean, it maintains, it's still biting, it's still so brilliant, topical topics. The only thing that took them down really was the Donald Trump, because this last season they were like, we can't keep up with this, we're gonna stop doing Donald Trump jokes, like it's even too much for us. And I was like, wow, I didn't think anything could take down the South Park that way.
Well, Donald Trump actually took down a lot of shows. It wasn't just cartoons. Yeah. It took down shows like House of Cards, Veep, really good shows that were so like, you can't believe that a president would do this stuff. This is absurd. And they're like,
the absurdity became reality.
And, like, yeah, we totally produced this a year before anything happened. Oh shit, he just did 10 times worse. We don't even know. So it wasn't just cartoons, but definitely.
The Onion is in trouble because I can't tell the difference between satire and real headlines anymore. I don't know what I'm looking at. So if you guys have never seen the documentary called 6 Days to Air,
that's great.
It's about, it documents them putting a single South Park episode together in 6 days.
Wow.
From concept to delivering the finished episode to Comedy Central. It is unbelievable how hard they work in 6 days and how good the end result, that episode is. It's really crazy.
That's pretty much how we put podcasts together over here. It's like, oh, you want a podcast? I got 6 days. Let's change everything. All right.
Six minutes is more like it. I believe in the beginning they were actually cutting out everything by hand.
Construction paper,
construction paper, cell by cell, until they figured out a way to do it in a style on the
computer. For a computer program.
But it's a great documentary, and I was blown away. I was like, that is crazy. Like, you literally can have a news event and then it's on the show later.
Right. So my question for you, Imran, I'm going to go right back to you and slam you first, and then, gives Phil a couple seconds to think about it. What is your, right now, at least one of your, I'm not going to make you say like the exact one is your favorite, but what is your favorite primetime cartoon that you're like, yep, got to see it, going to sit down, going to watch it, this is great? What's that one of those right now?
Man.
I know
that's rough. I wanted, when we were talking about The Simpsons, to me, The Simpsons is that kind of show where you kind of know it's going to be there. And I used to watch it religiously. I remember for like 12, 14, 15, 16 seasons, I watched every episode. Right. And then I just kind of stopped watching it. And then I came back to it, and it was like a new show again to me because I was catching up. There were so many episodes, and it's still on my DVR. I like to see what they're doing. As far as there's been a couple of shows lately that have kind of been canceled. Like there was a show called Border Town that was about a border guy who worked at the border at the America-Mexico border, and his neighbors were Mexican. I think it's from Family Guy, guys. Super offensive and racy. It was incredible. Like, I've never seen. There's a character on that show. He's the inbred hick. His head is a foot, and his face is in his belly. Like, that's what he looks like. The show is insane. You gotta watch that. That was like one of my recent favorites. But again, Simpsons is one I can go back and like pick any episode. I haven't seen a bunch of them, and they're always kind of poignant. Now, like they did one where Bart they did a 30 for 30 spoof. Bart had a whole like kid basketball career where he rose to fame, and it was documented as a 30 for 30. It was brilliant. And the fact that they can retcon the Simpsons history, like Bart should be 40. Right. But now Marge and Homer met in like the 90s, technically.
Right.
And then you can keep updating these things. It'll never end. Like it can never end. It's limit. The potential is limitless.
Now, do you feel that like when Futurama came out, did that give you a newfound love for The Simpsons? And did you enjoy Futurama once that came out?
I did love the Futurama. It was another great insight into Groening's head in a whole different way. But great characters, and it was funny. It was kind of familiar. But also new at the same time, and just like Family Guy, I think it came back after it got canceled, and they kept going
over and over
a couple
again.
Times. So,
a couple of times.
No, and I'm excited. I think he's got a new one coming out on Netflix. I'm not sure what it's about, but I'm always excited to see what Groening comes up with.
Yeah. Now, and how about you, Phil? Now, what's one that you're like, yes, I have to watch it, and this is new?
I don't have a current one right now.
Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff in the queue. Like I have Archer in my Netflix list, like constantly. Futurama, The Simpsons is on Hulu, and I just check back in with that every once in a while. I'm like you, Imran. That's like comfort food to me.
Yeah. Yep.
And I have a couple of the seasons on DVD that I'll just pull out and watch some old episodes once in a while. I love, honestly, probably I'm not seeing the new ones because they're not available on any streaming service I subscribe to, but you guys got me watching Rick and Morty after we did the and I'd seen a couple episodes, and after we did the Brokebot episode with Brandon and Travis, I go, you know what, I'm gonna go through the 2 seasons. I love, it's great. It's a great show. I'm not over the moon for it the way a lot of people are, but I think it's a very clever, very smart, crass, but it earns it. You know what I mean? Kind of show. Some of the other Adult Swim stuff, you can see I'm drawing here from Venture Brothers. I went and kind of visited part of that a couple years ago. I love Samurai Jack. I don't know that counts as prime time or just a regular Cartoon Network show. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big general fan of animation, but like I was telling you the other day, I need to watch BoJack Horseman. I haven't yet.
Yes, you do.
There's a bunch that I need to get to, but I don't really have. I guess right now, probably the most current thing I'm watching the Spawn HBO animated series.
Oh, you're watching that from late 90s, mid-90s.
It's. I don't know if we call it prime time because it's pay cable and very adult, but
does it hold up?
Kind of.
That's another show, ladies.
Yeah.
It's not. It holds up a lot better than some of the Image comics from the 90s.
Yeah, it's another one that I do catch every week in season is Bob's Burgers. This is a great show.
Bob's Burgers is very good.
Yeah,
because that's the Archer guy. I forgot that guy's name.
John Benjamin.
John Benjamin
doing a great voice, but you have Kristen Shaw and all these other great voice actors. I love Bob's Burgers. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a great one too, and you stole mine, but that's okay. But I was going to tell you, Matt Groening, like you were saying, that he is coming up. He has been picked up for those on Netflix for 10 episodes of a show called Disenchantment, and basically, I think he's getting on the whole elvish type of trolls.
It's like
and
a fantasy
dwarves.
thing.
So it takes place in like a medieval kingdom. It's called Dreamland. It kind of follows like a young princess and her elf friend and her personal demon and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of little things. So he's got 10 episodes coming, and it doesn't really have a release date, but to kind of look out for that. So for me, definitely Bob's Burgers is one of my favorite. Phil has mentioned the Venture Brothers. I absolutely love Archer, but I guess we'll talk about BoJack because that's one of my favorites too. And actually, I will say this: I'm going to throw completely off the rails a little bit. Is Metalocalypse. Now,
that's a good one. Yeah,
this show is ridiculous, and I am not a heavy metal person at all, right? The music is really rough, and it's it's in there, but it's really, I almost want to say, for comedic value. And This show is really well written. It's funny. It's different. It kind of runs along the same line as Mr. Pickles. I don't know if you've seen that one at all, but Mr. Pickles is a demonic dog. Probably wouldn't be welcomed on varmints, but he is... he's kind of a murderous type of a dog that gets back at like all these people, and he's, you just never, Mr. Pickles, you just never know that he's the one killing all these people and do all these bad things. So it's a really good show. I enjoy stuff like that. But I was going to ask you guys, do you guys remember Dr. Katz?
Oh,
yeah.
yes. I love Dr. Katz.
So I was going to ask you because I don't really know about the animation. I love this squiggly line animation. And do you either of you know how that was done?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. See, it had that very hand-drawn, like every cell, the line moved, and it was constantly vibrating. And I'm wondering if it was a thing where, because Dr. Katz, I imagine I always thought those conversations were very heavily improv. Mm-hmm. And then they just added the animation to these improv sets where comedians would sit down with Dr. Katz. And that may be why the animation was so simple and crude. Because usually, that's how you do it. I think you do the voice first, and then you would do the animation.
Then you sync it up, yeah,
and then you sync it up.
Yeah,
I think it was just a cheap style that they could produce quickly on a budget.
I love
it was more about comedians than that show looking good.
Well, home movies was similar to that too, and they had that squiggly drawing, And I remember
The Critic.
Yes, I do. I do remember with John Lovitz. Yes, I do. I've watched so many cartoons.
I watched a lot of The Critic. Yeah,
I love that.
That was a great catchphrase. It sucks.
It stinks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Let me give you one more you guys may not heard of, but I want you and the listener check out. It's on Comedy Central. It's this show called Legend of Chamberlain Heights.
Okay.
It's about these inner city punk kids, black and white, that go. They're in a basketball team, and the most swearing I've ever heard, like more than South Park, just like racially tinged episode. Like there's an episode about police brutality in the hood. It's all about things that happen in the hood. It's up there with Border Town on like, you will be offended, but you're gonna laugh. And
like the Boondocks at all, or anything?
Yeah. No, even more like the drawing is cruder than the Boondocks, and it's just straight up like racy and raunchy about these little kids who talk like adults, and they think they're big shots, but they're just these little kids in the hood. It's really good, and it's like I can't believe it's another one. Like I can't believe this is on television, but we have like the Flintstones to thank for where we are now.
For all of this crudeness.
Yes.
Thank you, Flintstones. We appreciate it. So, well, let's get a little bit into some things that you might not have known about all the things that we've been talking about. So let's find out those fun facts, shall we? All right. So, Phil, you might know this. Bart Simpson's name is actually an anagram of brat. I mean, it's not that hard, but it's actually an anagram. All the characters on The Simpsons are based on and named after a creator, after the creator, Matt, Groening, in his family. So all of them. Everyone is a person in his family, which I really like. We didn't get into F is for Family, but that's another great show. Good. Yeah, I had to watch. I love that show. So
there will be a third season on Bill Burr's podcast. He talks about going in and he's recording the third season.
That is such a great show.
That
is
great
so
show.
Great. Yeah. And what's really neat is Bill Burr plays his dad, and he also plays every dad from that era. So it's really interesting to
the screaming dad.
Yeah, it's a great show. So definitely give that a check out. The next thing was so we were talking about Archer. The original title for Archer was Duchess. So according to the new book, The Art of Archer, art director Neil Holman had even created the opening sequence with Duchess as the title, and the name wasn't changed to Archer until the show was picked up into a series. Now, this is a really interesting art style, too. They also had, I think, what's the girl's name? Charlene? Is it Charlene in the beginning? She wasn't supposed to be on the show more than one episode, and she ends up, she's in the show now, which is really funny. The secretary.
Aisha Tyler's character?
No,
Archer, right?
No, not hers. The other one. Gosh, I'm sure everybody's going, it's this person. It's this person. Just keep screaming at your podcast earphones. It's fine. We don't know who it is. But anyway, it was really interesting. They definitely, Aisha's character wasn't black. She was white. I mean, they had this whole like James Bondy type of a thing going on. So it was totally a different show, and they changed kind of the art style of it, and it really works. I mean, that's probably one of the coolest art styles I think out there.
It's very
right
stylized and very like iconic. There was a story. This fan of Bob's Burgers and Archer did a fan animation where the Archer people on Archer, he drew them on Bob's Burgers, nailed the look, completely independent. The dude gets a call from Bob's Burgers. I believe they offered him an animation job based on his work.
That's
because
awesome.
It nailed, and it was really good. He took audio, he cut all the audio together and made a new thing. And I was like, I can't believe this is made by some dude, because it looks like Bob's Burgers and Archer combined. It's amazing. But that's how you get a job these days, man. Just make your thing and put it out.
So are you listening to yourself? So like do some stuff and like get a job, go work and do the thing. So it's all good. Next comes South Park. So at the beginning of the show, I said somebody held a Guinness Book of World Record. Well, shocking, it's South Park, because they have the most swearing in an animated series to date. So you think the Chamberlain Heights one has it?
Yeah.
No, it's still South Park. They still hold that. So they are
There's that one
awesome.
episode where they had like the shit count. Remember that?
Yeah,
one? And
it was like 99. It just kept going.
Amazing. That was the best. I was like, I can't believe they're getting away with this.
That reminded me of a Saturday Night Live skit with Matthew Broderick and Dana Carvey, where they were finally able to say penis on the air.
I remember that. So
and they were like, "How's your penis?"
Yeah, that's where it's at the nude beach.
The nude
yes.
beach. Hey, penis is looking pretty good. It was just
like a penis there.
Right. It was so dumb, but they were able to say penis. They're like, "How are we going to talk about it? Let's get naked and just say the word penis."
It was just the most gratuitous sketch of all time.
That reminds me of another sketch where it's the Italian winemakers, and they soak corks, right, for wine bottles. So they're all talking about how they're the best cork soakers, and he's like, I soak corks the best, and it just kept going on, and it was brilliant.
We have a restaurant and wine bar in town here that is called Cork Soakers, and I cannot drive by it without giggling because I'm a giant child.
I know, me too. I mean, I would lose it. Our next fact is on season 4 of Venture Brothers. That could have been the end of the series. That was pretty much, they were working towards it, and they were saying this is the end, but obviously it wasn't, because the Venture Brothers is still going on. It wasn't until the two started working on a rewrite of the season finale, which originally was written as a half-hour episode, that they decided that the show had a little bit more future. Somewhere in the process of finishing the 4th season, they came up with the ideas for a 5th one, a 6th one, and so on and so forth. So therefore, thank God Venture Brothers isn't dead, because I don't know what I'd do without Putty, because I didn't even know it was a Warburton, Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, Patrick Warburton.
I love him in everything. He's the same character. And how you doing? I don't care. Hey,
Yeah, Doc.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's the same voice.
I love him, and I don't want to get rid of him.
He's great, yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome in that show. So he's Brock, and it's a great show. So our last one is, when we were talking about Bob's Burgers today. So Tina was originally supposed to be a boy. Now, if you guys know, she is actually voiced by stand-up comedian Dan Mintz, which is a male.
Oh.
So, which is really funny about this is, he originally was supposed to voice her as a he, and he was called in and said, like, hey, we need you to voice, this character. I can't remember what they were going to call it. I think it was Daniel was the name of him, or whatever. And so he's like, okay, you're going to voice Daniel. And they said it wasn't working, so he got this phone call from the producers, and they're like, yeah, we need to talk about your character. And he's like, here it comes. I'm going to get fired. Like, they're rewriting the show. They're like, we're rewriting your character. It's going to be a girl. He's like, and he's like, but we want you to do the voice. And so he never changed his voice from Dan to Tina.
Wow.
And that is why it works, and it's brilliant. It's funny. It cracks me up every time. And if you've ever seen, you have to Google right now, Dan Mintz. Just take 2 seconds, watch his stand-up comedy, because it's great, because you're just like, that's Tina.
Tina. That's crazy, because usually it's the other way around.
Right.
Like a Bart Simpson, voiced by Nancy Cartwright.
Right.
Usually they
Right.
women to voice little boys. I love that they flip this. It's utterly absurd, but yeah, it works so well.
And it's such a good show.
The mom on that show is voiced by a man as well, isn't
Yes.
it? Is it Andy Kindler?
Oh God! Off of the top, it is a man.
I think Kristen Shaw is the only female voice actor.
I don't know if you guys
of the
know.
regular family.
But what's really cool, I got a Loot Crate about a month back, and I got every recipe from their burger of the day.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh no way! You got all the burgers.
Yes, you flip it over and it gives you the recipe for the burger, and I'm like, "What is this? This is amazing!" So
I love reading the chalkboard, because the burgers always sound delicious. I was like, I want to try that. I know what that is? It's not peanut butter and jelly.
I would go on that show just to write those puns. Like, that would be my dream job. I'm like, we got to do a burger this week. You guys ready to go? I'm like,
your
okay.
one job.
Yeah, my one job, doing that, and the store in the opening credits that changes every week.
Like the stores that are next door to them.
Yeah.
That always changes, and then they change the end credits too, don't they?
Yeah,
Often with what happened in the
depends.
show. Like, that's
If it's a
great. Nobody
song.
does that.
Be Gene wearing the burger outfit.
Yeah.
What's really funny is, like, I actually own on iTunes, because this is where I support things. I have all the songs from Bob's Burgers, and they are amazing. They are funny. They are well done. But 98% of them are about pooping and farting, and they still make me laugh. I think I'm a 13-year-old boy sometimes. I don't know what that is, but
Sometimes.
Shut up. You know, I got boobs. It's fine. I'm the coolest 13-year-old boy with boobs. Anyway, but it's a great show, and you should definitely check it out, and definitely check out Dan Mintz. So that would be awesome. So moving on, guys, we have to talk about what you've been drawing all night. Show me those sketches, you guys. Imran, what have you been drawing for the last hour?
Well, before I describe my drawing, you guys ever seen that Flintstones commercial for Winston cigarettes from the 50s? Have you seen
Yes, I have.
I think I have. Yeah.
I love it, because Wilma is mowing the lawn, and Fred and Barney are around the back of the house smoking a Winston. And they're like, Winston tastes good like a cigarette. Best jingle ever. Why can't we go back to those days where you could just smoke
I wonder
anywhere?
if that's why my grandpa smoked Winston's. Was he
Because
a
of the
closet Flintstones
But
fan?
can you imagine that that's a live action cartoon
Right.
is advertising cigarettes? That's
Right.
amazing. What kind of a world was this?
Hey, SpongeBob, can I bum a smoke?
I'm sorry, I don't have any smokes, but I have all this crack.
Oh my god! All I got is a Virginia Slim. Sorry. So what I drew is I drew what Fred Flintstone would look like if he was an actual Neanderthal wearing Fred Flintstone costumes as a caveman. So it's
That's
just
awesome.
a big burly brow-headed caveman wearing Fred's orange suit and blue tie. DC Comics says they have a Flintstones comic book series that's out that they draw the characters kind of like realistically as humans, and it's actually very good. Like,
I've heard nothing but good stuff about the Flintstones.
It's amazing. It's like an allegory for stuff going on now, and they tie everything in. There's like women's work issue, like Wilma wants to go to work, and they tackle these tough topics, and it's surprisingly a really good book. You wouldn't think it would be, but it's good.
My brother told me there was a gay marriage themed issue that was unbelievably great. He called me to recommend that I go pick it up, and I still haven't, but I want to get the whole series, because of all those cartoon reboots, they did a Scooby-Doo one and all this other stuff. The Flintstones is the one that I've heard universal praise for.
I have the first issue, and I was like, huh, that's very interesting. Who would have thought that you could pull this out of the Flintstones? But they did it,
Wow, that's really cool. All right, Phil. Let me see what you got.
All right.
What do you got?
You know him. You love him. It's Brock Sampson,
Nice.
bodyguard to the Venture family, right-hand man, ex-CIA assassin, and former partner of Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man.
Oh, right on.
He is Brock Sampson. He is the reason I love the Venture Brothers. I think he is just hilarious. Everything about him, when he goes crazy and his eye starts twitching, when he breaks a guy's hand with his ass during a cavity search. Everything about Brock Sampson is over the top and hilarious. So I drew him, and now I do not want to give him to the Patreon because I love this drawing of Brock Sampson that I did. But it will be in there. I will send it off. One of you patrons will take Brock home.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's take a real quick break before we're out of here and listen a little bit to the mix. Let me just tell you, Mixter is hilarious. If you want to laugh
on Trivia Geeks,
he was excellent on Trivia Geeks. He had me in tears. I was, it was a great time. So definitely, if you get a chance to check out his podcast, please do so. So
I have heard that ad pop up on a couple of our shows in the last week or so. So I have been meaning to check that out. I have not yet, but.
Isn't that funny?
I will add it to my list.
Yes, definitely add it to the list of 50,000 podcasts that we have to get through.
I know.
And also try to have a job and a life and do our own podcasting. It's so difficult. So, guys, anything else you want to talk about before we get into next week? What are we going to do next week? What's going on next week? What are we doing? I don't even know. I don't even know what's happening next week.
I don't know. We skipped a lot of good topics, so you can pick any one of those that you want.
Totally circle back and pick up one of those.
Well, you know what's really funny, and I will say this: we were gonna, and we might do this because I think I want to now. So Tig Notaro, who's a comedian, we haven't done Notaro, we haven't done a comedian in a while. She just came out with a series called like Mississippi One or something.
I have heard about that. Yeah, I'm very curious about it.
Watch the first episode. It's fantastic. So let's talk about
show
her.
on where? Where is it?
Is it Amazon?
It's Amazon Prime, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's all about her going back to like Mississippi. Her mom, passes away, and she seems like a grown-up angst teen. And like never got out of it. She's just like, ugh, fine, I'm here.
No, she's just low energy. If you watch, there's a stand-up special on HBO. I want to say it's called Boyish Girl Interrupted.
Yes.
It's unbelievably, she's so funny, and she had breast cancer. And has no breasts. She does half her show topless.
Yes.
Just to show her scars. She's incredible.
Amazing.
So I would definitely talk about her.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I don't want to like say that we will, and then we change things because me, I'm kind of.
I want to go watch that show.
Yeah, you definitely should. Mississippi One. So definitely do it. So guys, thank you guys for listening and watching Sketching Comedy today. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at Blazing Caribou and listen to us every Wednesday at 8/7 Central. I want to thank our producer, Ish Balderas Wong. Does Ish pants make me look fat? I'm just wondering. Is it possible to keep these puns up every single week? I don't know, but I keep doing them, and I keep love doing them. I love you, Ish.
Oh, I got one.
What?
Ish. I got nothing.
Well, thank you for doing what you do, Ish. See, every time I say that, and then I say Ish, it sounds like Ish. Anyway, well, thanks to you, the listener, because without you, none of this could actually be possible. So thank you. You guys are our comic heroes. We look forward to you tuning in next week for more animations, illustrators, and stories about the animators you love. And with that, our show comes to a draw. I've been your host, Carrie Sims, along with Imran Javed and Phil Rude. We'll sketch you guys next week on Sketching Comedy. And we're out. Well, kind of.
All right.
I'm gonna hit the.
Kinda.
Yeah, we're kind of out. We're still kind of live,
Out.
but I can close some things down.
Kinda.
Which is nice.
It's just the tip.
A little bit.
Just the tip. We're still recording
We're
for
still
a few minutes.
kind of in.
You're just kind of pregnant, not all the way, just a little bit. It's all good. So let me hear.
You're a little pregnant, just a little.
Let me stop the stream. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate
There's
it.
no such thing as a little pregnant.
I'm gonna close that.